The following program deals with controversial subjects. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretations. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight on Sightings from the Russian Republic, our team of investigators captures startling videotape images and returns with eyewitness evidence of bizarre extraterrestrial contact. Then, is the ghost of Whitechapel a murder victim of London's infamous Jack the Ripper? And can science reanimate the Iceman by cloning? The special update next.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. The defeat of communism in the former Soviet Union has had wide-ranging consequences. For our Sightings investigative team, it has meant unprecedented access to secret documents and exclusive interviews about one of the most controversial UFO sightings in history. In the first of a series of reports from inside Russia, our search for the truth about a mysterious place known as the M Triangle. The Republic of Russia is the heart of the new Commonwealth of Independent States that was once the Soviet Union. On a daily basis, new information is released to the people of this country about the previous government's clandestine activities. One of the most unlikely activities was a well-organized government effort to research UFO phenomena. And today, that activity is spoken about openly at the Russian Space Center, especially by those who have been close to the Russian space program, like former Colonel Marina Popovich.
We are presently standing at the Cosmonaut Training Center of Russia. It is where all the cosmonauts are still trained, even today. Some of the training includes the proper protocol in cosmonauts dealing with UFOs. As a colonel, I used to be a terrible skeptic, but when I see the government programs dealing with UFOs, I can't ignore this evidence. I've seen photos pilots have taken of saucers attacking planes. We're also now aware of recurring landing sites. I have absolutely no doubt that UFOs exist. It is impossible that in a universe this large, that's expanding so quickly, with new stars and planets being formed, that we are a unique planet that sustains life.
A team of sightings researchers set out to uncover new information about the Soviet government's UFO research efforts. Information that had been long suppressed was coming to light. Even as our investigation began, a guard involved in a routine examination of our credentials was eager to tell us about his own UFO experiences.
1.5 years ago, I was standing guard here at Lenin's tomb in Red Square when I got a message over the radio. There was a UFO flying over Spassky Tower. Come quickly. When I arrived, I looked, but it had gone away. But there was definitely an object hovering above the tower for several minutes, one militiaman said. In the old days, we would be frightened to talk of such things. But today, there is an openness. In fact, there is even a TV show on now about such things.
Once a week, Russians tune their televisions to UFO, Unannounced Visit, one of the most popular programs in the country. It deals with UFO mysteries, and its host is Alexander Miachekov, a respected journalist and ufologist. It was from Alexander that we received our first information about the one UFO story that has captured the imagination of all Russia for the past 3 years.
We have a very interesting and mysterious area around the city of Perm. The incidents that happened in that area are hard to believe, so unbelievable that it is hard to compare that area to any other area of anomaly. That area is called M Triangle. The journalist Pavel Mohartov has been there, and I'll tell you, he had unbelievable experiences there and developed new, almost superhuman abilities after visiting the triangle. It's absolutely fantastic.
We visited with Pavel Mohartov, the journalist who first broke this story of the M Triangle. He's a man with no formal scientific training, but he believes he encountered mysterious forces in the M Triangle zone that gave him new abilities and knowledge, the knowledge that would eventually lead him to the Russian space program.
I grew up a slight man. My health was never good. I was even kicked out of the Russian military because I was too frail.
This one here is proof that he was discharged from the army for health reasons.
After I was discharged from the military, I worked for a newspaper as a reporter. I started reading letters about the M Triangle zone.
He found documents in the archives that one of the KGB agents started to write reports to his superiors that strange phenomena started to appear.
There were many UFO sightings, sudden insanity, and dangerous levels of radiation. My editor sent me there to cover the story. Wild feelings came over me, strange photos were taken, and many in the group fell ill.
These are the photos taken at night. That's what they saw during the night, flying and hovering above them.
For me, the M Triangle story is good. I developed great knowledge about aerospace and about physics, and my health improved. I quit the newspaper and was immediately accepted into the Soviet space program. The M Triangle changed my life. I am no longer slight. Now, I am a cosmonaut.
The M Triangle is an area considered to be a hotbed of UFO activity. It is located in a remote area 600 miles east of Moscow in the Ural Mountains. Eyewitnesses have reported strange craft, mysterious light phenomena, and encounters of the third kind with translucent beings. There are even journals and books devoted to the ongoing sightings in the M Triangle.
When Muhartov first wrote about it, I was skeptical. It was too obvious that everyone who lived in the area saw all this extraterrestrial activity. Many suggest that the area is high in mercury deposits, and this is causing hallucinations. But could it be, to the extent that people are seeing signs and letters in the sky? There must be something there.
Before our own sightings investigation at the M Triangle, we stopped at the Commonwealth Ufological Center, a government agency on the outskirts of Moscow dedicated to UFO research.
Each day we process 15 to 20 UFO reports at our offices, including those from the M Triangle. We know of the dangers of this zone and that science has not been able to establish the truth about UFOs in the zone. But that doesn't rule out the health hazards. My advice to you is to get in and get out of that dangerous zone. It's just not safe.
Working in Russia was made more difficult by the lack of provisions we found available. This is a typical grocery store in Russia during business hours, a grim reminder of the upheaval still going on in the new republics. There may be a free market now, but red cabbage is still too expensive for most shoppers. The harsh conditions bear silent witness to the character of the Russian people who endure this hardship on a daily basis. After a 2.5-hour jet flight into the Ural Mountains, the research team flew an additional 90 minutes by helicopter. We agreed to comply with the government's request that we remain in the M Triangle for 24 hours only. The government warned us of dangers there. People who'd reportedly gone mad, lost their eyesight, or disappeared completely. We first landed in a small village just outside the M Triangle to see if we could find eyewitnesses to the bizarre phenomena in the region. What we found was a village out of the 1890s with people who told stories right out of Star Wars.
I was walking my grandmother home when we both saw a red flash coming from that zone. Lots of my friends have seen that too.
Mysterious things that fly in the sky here are common. I don't even listen anymore to such old news.
I've seen these saucers numerous times. To say that they are nonsense is nonsense. We know what we see.
We found no one who had been adversely affected by the reported paranormal activity. We then proceeded on the final leg of our journey into the M Triangle, accompanied by Emil Bakurin, ufologist and author of the Russian bestseller, UFOs, Explanation of the Unexplained.
I've written a book about the zone because there have been so many strange experiences here by believers and skeptics alike. Near our tent, one group saw translucent fireballs that chased them into the woods and burned them seriously. Only 17 meters from here, a glowing object stunned a research group. One of the men later committed suicide. We often see groups of UFOs fly past this field. Sometimes they disappear, sometimes they land and leave radiation.
The UFOs sighted here have yet to be fully explained. The strange light phenomena, however, are thought to be the result of geomagnetic anomalies evident in the area, known to scientists as lightning balls.
We've used very sensitive equipment that measures and reacts to electricity in a battery from as far as 100 meters. But the same piece of measuring equipment wouldn't react to those energetic balls that we've observed. Therefore, we conclude that the energy is not of an electromagnetic nature.
The light phenomena are best seen at night. Our investigative team brought special night vision cameras, and after several hours, they photographed what can only be described as startling.
George, did we see a satellite? What do you think that was?
No, a satellite cannot do shit like this.
What was it?
I don't know. It cannot do the trajectories like this in the sky, like this, and like this.
The strange streak of light never reappeared. A frame-by-frame analysis offers more detail, but gives little insight into its origin. It may have been a shooting star or a satellite. However, there is little debate among the Russian UFO community that something beyond rational explanation is occurring in this remote region. And there is no better proof than Pavel Mohartov, the man who claims he gained secret knowledge that transformed him from journalist to cosmonaut number 152 after visiting the M Triangle. Most of the people we talked with in Russia believe UFOs are operating in the M Triangle. However, off the record, a few scientists offered another possibility. They claim that the Soviet government has been secretly testing a new breed of weapons called psychotronic weapons that immobilize an enemy by creating realistic mass hallucinations. They suggest that eyewitnesses in the M Triangle may have actually seen something that wasn't really there, because they were unwitting participants in a top-secret military experiment.
Coming up, our ghost investigators uncover an apparition haunting Whitechapel, London.
It was just something I couldn't explain, but it was frightening.
Was she a victim of Jack the Ripper?
The 10 Bells is a pub in Whitechapel at the East End of London. Haunting phenomena have been reported there for the past 100 years. During our own investigation at the 10 Bells, we uncovered evidence that the paranormal activity there may very well be related to a notorious murderer who has never been found. The 10 Bells has been a favorite meeting place in London's Whitechapel district since 1754. And for the past 100 years, it has also been a favorite haunt for ghostly apparitions, spotted by owners and customers alike.
It was just something I couldn't explain, but it was frightening.
Haunting is a form of communication.
We first brought our investigation into the pub's dank cellar, where many people have experienced haunting phenomena and apparitions. Sightings asked renowned psychic investigator Marion Dampier-Jeans to record her impressions at the 10 Bells.
It's quite, if you like, a bit of a tragic sort of place, but spirits are definitely in here.
This is the door that we can hear banging during the night, and you kind of get a funny kind of feeling of presence.
And I know that spirits have showed themselves to landlords who's been here.
On a number of occasions we heard footsteps. We'd come upstairs here and we'd find nothing.
And I just feel totally, completely distant. The whole atmosphere here is very different. It's very disturbing, if you like.
About 5 months ago, I was here managing the bar. After about 8 or 9 days here, I went down to the cellar. When I got down to the bottom of the stairs, I went over to the right. Very briefly, I got a glimpse of a woman in sort of old-style clothes.
I think she comes to what is known as the old grounds, where she might have been, where she might have existed.
It gave me just as much a fright, you know, really frightened, I've got to be honest.
I would say she's from about 1856, 18-something, 60, whatever. It's around that era I'm in.
She's been spotted downstairs on numerous occasions by previous managers.
I still feel that there was a murder committed, but again, you know, I'm not quite sure who did the murder or why the murder was taking shape or place.
This place used to be frequently used by the ladies of the night, going back to Jack the Ripper's time.
Young lady, 5'2" tall, she said Liz.
It's been proved that Elizabeth Stride did drink here.
Marion had provided an important clue to the identity of at least one apparition, the name Liz. And indeed, Elizabeth Stride, a prostitute, was a frequent customer here in the late 1800s. On September the 30th, 1888, Stride, known as Long Liz, was the third victim of Jack the Ripper. Could it be her restless spirit that haunts the 10 Bells today? Our psychic investigator believes so, but we also called in scientific investigator Tony Cornell for his opinion.
I mean, people in poltergeist cases and hauntings, they see things and hear things. Now, that's okay for them. It's real to them. But for us, for it to be real to us, we want it on film.
We set out to try to film the haunting phenomena, but our camera operator was stymied.
As we came into this little room we are in now, the recording fault in the viewfinder was going berserk, is the best way to describe it. And so we've now come in here again to play it back, and we just started up, and yes, it's still showing strangely in the viewfinder.
Psychic investigator Nella Jones has worked with Scotland Yard on a number of cases. We asked her to walk through Whitechapel to see if she felt a psychic connection between the hauntings and Jack the Ripper. We also brought in Don Rumbelow, Ripper historian and the owner of one of the alleged murder weapons.
I'm pleased to have possession of it, but I don't know about proud. I mean, it's such a macabre weapon.
This is definitely the place. I would stake my reputation on that.
It has a thumb grip on the blade for cutting upwards. This is how you can tell that it's different from other knives of the period. Well, if Nella felt something here, there's a very good reason for it, because this is where the body of the first of Jack the Ripper's victims was found on the night of the 31st of August, 1888.
Claiming no knowledge of where the murders had occurred, Nella led us to this site, but would not work with Rumbelow's knife.
Take it back, please. I don't want to know. I don't want to know about that. But if they could feel what I feel when I touch that, they wouldn't even want to look at it.
Documents, letters at the time, contemporary memoirs. This is evidence. Using, with due respect to Nella, using a psychic is not proof.
What's new in this case is really what's old.
It was author and historian Paul Begg who was finally able to shed some new light on this dark subject.
30th of September 1888 was the night of the double event when Jack the Ripper killed 2 women within an hour. The first of those murders took place along this street.
In fact, a street not far from the 10 Bells pub.
It's an interesting case because it's the one instance where we probably have a witness to Jack the Ripper in action. A man named Israel Schwartz was walking down the road. In front of him was another man, and ahead of both of them, standing in the entrance to a yard, was a woman. And as the second man approached, he attacked and assaulted the woman and threw her to the ground. Israel Schwartz probably saw Jack the Ripper committing his crime, murdering Elizabeth Stride, who was found dead in the alleyway about 15 minutes later.
Because there was a witness, the murder of Elizabeth Stride was key to Scotland Yard's investigation.
The most important piece of information that's come to light in the last couple of years is what we call the Swanson Marginalia. And these notes were written by a man called Swanson, who had overall responsibility for the investigation of the crimes. And in those penciled notes, he names Jack the Ripper. He says that the Ripper was a man called Kosminski. And if the police at the time were right, and if we've understood the information that we've got correctly, Aaron Kosminski was Jack the Ripper.
Our ghost investigation at the 10 Bells, near the site of Elizabeth Stride's murder, poses intriguing new questions about the identity of Jack the Ripper. Foremost, is the ghost of Long Liz trying to communicate some important clues? Is she trying to add her voice to those who believe Eric Kosminski is the bloody murderer known as Jack the Ripper? And if police believed Kosminski was the Ripper, why wasn't he arrested?
Now, because Aaron Kosminski had never been tried, had never been convicted, they were not able to release that information to the public. And that's why this has always remained a mystery.
While Eric Kosminski is considered a prime suspect, Scotland Yard still holds files on 2 additional men they believe could be the real Jack the Ripper. But will we ever know for sure? Some psychics answer yes, and suggest we listen more carefully to the ghostly presence in London's East End.
Coming up, can science bring the Iceman back to life through cloning?
The idea of cloning human beings is an interesting one.
A special update next.
The discovery in 1991 of a remarkably preserved human, thought to be more than 5,000 years old, has captured the attention of scientists around the world. Dubbed the Iceman, archaeologists are studying his remains. Anthropologists are learning more about his behavior, and genetic engineers want the Iceman for experiments in cloning. He is considered by many to be the most important archaeological discovery of all time, a unique window to what we were like 1,000 years before the pyramids were built. He's called the Iceman, a miraculously preserved human specimen who froze to death over 5,000 years ago and literally remained on ice until his discovery last year in the Italian Alps. Unlike mummies and other bodies found after burial, the Iceman was flash frozen as he lived, resulting in a kind of ancient snapshot of the late Stone Age.
He doesn't look quite so dead. He's still got the flesh on him. The pores of the skin are there, the fingernails are there, even his eyes are there. He happened to freeze with his eyelid open, and you can see this cloudy eyeball kind of glistening just inside his head.
Actually seeing this frozen man from the distant past has inspired many to consider what science could do to bring him back to life through cloning techniques, which have proven successful in frogs.
Frogs were cloned, and they were all identical extuplets of the original frog that was cloned, but that frog was a tadpole, and when you try to clone the adult stage of that same frog, nobody could do it. Something happens to the cells, to the DNA, that makes them unclonable.
The idea of cloning human beings is an interesting one, but it's a largely theoretical concept at this juncture.
But theoretical concepts, science fiction to some, often become science fact. So what could we expect if cloning experiments with the Iceman are successful?
You could take those genes, put them in the ovum from a woman, implant that in her uterus, and it would grow up and it would be essentially the identical twin of the Iceman. Unfortunately, he would not know a thing about life in the late Neolithic.
Cloning the Iceman's body may become a future reality, but cloning his mind and the memories it contains is likely to remain the ultimate scientific puzzle. Input from viewers is an important part of our sightings investigations. If you videotape or photograph what you believe to be paranormal activity, our sightings investigative team wants to know about it.
To report your sightings, call 1-900-740-SIGHT. Each call 75 cents a minute. Average call lasts 2 minutes, and you must be 18 years or older. Again, the sightings hotline is 1-900-740-7483. Next sightings. The hunt for ghosts leads us to Alcatraz, where our paranormal investigator uncovers haunting evidence.
There are at least 100 ghosts here.
Plus mass UFO sightings in Mexico on the next Sightings.
Join us next time for new investigations into the unexplained. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Sunday at 7, 6 Central, supermodel Cindy Crawford hosts an hour of death-defying action and spectacular stunts on Stunt Women World Tour Sunday. And coming up, he's handsome, he's sexy, and he's way dead. Who killed the dating show stud? You solve the mystery on an all-new Likely Suspects next.
When I arrived, I looked, but it had gone away. But there was definitely an object hovering above the tower for several minutes, one militiaman said. In the old days, we would be frightened to talk of such things. But today, there was an openness. In fact, there is even a TV show on now about such things.
Once a week, Russians tune their televisions to UFO, Unannounced Visit, one of the most popular programs in the country. It deals with UFO mysteries, and its host is Alexander Miachekov, a respected journalist and ufologist. It was from Alexander that we received our first information about the one UFO story that has captured the imagination of all Russia for the past 3 years.
We have a very interesting and mysterious area around the city of Perm. The incidents that happened in that area are hard to believe.
The following program deals with controversial subjects. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretations. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight on Sightings from the Russian Republic, our team of investigators captures startling videotape images and returns with eyewitness evidence of bizarre extraterrestrial contact. Then, is the ghost of Whitechapel a murder victim of London's infamous Jack the Ripper? And can science reanimate the Iceman by cloning? The special update next.
reports have taken of saucers attacking planes. We're also now aware of recurring landing sites. I have absolutely no doubt that UFOs exist. It is impossible that in a universe this large, that's expanding so quickly, with new stars and planets being formed, that we are a unique planet that sustains life.
A team of sightings researchers set out to uncover new information about the Soviet government's UFO research efforts. Information that had been long suppressed was coming to light. Even as our investigation began, a guard involved in a routine examination of our credentials was eager to tell us about his own UFO experiences.
1.5 years ago, I was standing guard here at Lenin's tomb in Red Square when I got a message over the radio. There was a UFO flying over Spassky Tower. Come quickly.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. The defeat of communism in the former Soviet Union has had wide-ranging consequences. For our Sightings investigative team, it has meant unprecedented access to secret documents and exclusive interviews about one of the most controversial UFO sightings in history. In the first of a series of reports from inside Russia, our search for the truth about a mysterious place known as the M Triangle. The Republic of Russia is the heart of the new Commonwealth of Independent States that was once the Soviet Union. On a daily basis, new information is released to the people of this country about the previous government's clandestine activities. One of the most unlikely activities was a well-organized government effort to research UFO phenomena. And today, that activity is spoken about openly at the Russian Space Center, especially by those who have been close to the Russian space program, like former Colonel Marina Popovich.
We are presently standing at the Cosmonaut Training Center of Russia. It is where all the cosmonauts are still trained, even today. Some of the training includes the proper protocol in cosmonauts dealing with UFOs. As a colonel, I used to be a terrible skeptic, but when I see the government programs dealing with UFOs, I can't ignore this evidence. I've seen photos